reigning champion, got a big fight coming up Sunday night, and everyone in this country is looking forward to it. You've prepared very hard. I'm very excited for you. What's your take? What do you feel about coming up Sunday night?
I'm excited. I'm keen to get this fight ongoing and stuff like that. We've put a lot of preparation and everything into this fight. It's a big local fight for me. And yeah, it's a great stepping stone for me and our future.
Well, I'm actually training Rowan, and I want to just go back on your career, just to let people know about the real Rowan Campbell. Where does it all come from? From my side, I remember the day you first walked into my gym with your mom. I think you must have been about 15 years old, 14, somewhere around there. And I saw this little fiery, little feisty guy, little chubby guy.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny because your mom had a bit of I still remember the way your mom came in, and it was like, you could see she was like frustrated about you. You were up to something in your life at that time.
Yeah.
So, we started as casual, twice a week, training clients as a young kid, and your mom wanted some direction and as far as letting off steam, because as far as I remember, you're quite a feisty little youngster, fighting, hooligan as far as in school. But wow, you've turned out unbelievable, man. And I think just the journey with you has been incredible. And just tell everyone about how it all went.
Yeah, I think my mom and I had a lot of tension growing up. My mom was quite a fiery, feisty lady herself. She still is. So I think she was worried about me, and I think there was like a lot going on and stuff. So we didn't quite know how to express ourselves. So we did get like flippant, angry and aggressive and stuff like that. And yeah, so I think she saw that, or thought boxing would help me out and stuff like that. And meeting you and joining the boxing gym was definitely like the greatest thing which ever happened to me by far. I don't know, I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from boxing. Boxing's taught me so much how to control myself and stuff. I was a very naughty. I look at myself as a very immature kid, but I was very naughty, and I feel like I've grown up quite a bit thanks to boxing.
Yeah, you were a good naughty. I mean, it wasn't like, a kid that was like, going on the wrong side of life as such.
Yeah.
I think it was just when I met you, and it was that, young kid finding out, but there was something that drew you, and I could see it in you when I trained you. There's something about your love for boxing that actually struck me. I remember when your mom would kind of banned you from boxing because of, not studying in school or doing something, which wasn't a bad thing, because she saw that your boxing was this attraction of drawing and correcting your life. Because every time she say, Pete, this month I've kind of like gate crashed him from, training. Boxing, it really got to you. Yeah. And it shocked me in a way, the way you would like behave and turn around. Then I got more connected with you on a personal basis, And I just remember, I was chatting about a lot of things, and it was like the growth stage of change. And it was like putting your head in the right place as a coach, coming from my side. It was like a good thing to see young guys, giving them a futuristic look out from my past where it could go wrong for you. And it was quite amazing, because your energy towards boxing was a positive move, and that's where I could capture a lot of change in you, How did you feel about the times your mom would react about boxing and banning you? How would you?
I hated it. My favorite thing was to come to boxing. Like I focused on school sports and stuff, but in the back of my mind, I always told myself, boxing is my sport. I'm going to focus 100% on boxing. So I participated in stuff, but all I wanted to do was box. I don't know where exactly my love for boxing came, but my two older brothers also love boxing. We were always fighting. Yeah. I think it comes from animation that we used to watch as kids called Dragon Ball Z, We used to
Oh,
watch
really?
it and then fight and stuff. I don't know, just feel that fighting instinct, I think.
Yeah.
And whenever my mom banned me, yes, I used to do everything I could to come back and box. I don't know why, boxing just made me feel good. Still to this day, after I fight, if you give me a little bit of a break, I notice if I take like a week or two off, I become quite angry. Boxing just makes me feel
Calm you.
good and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just it has such a positive influence on my life.
It's a great energy channel for a lot of kids growing up, you know, because, you know, you go through rebellious stages, you know, and a lot of kids get caught up in different lifestyles. And, you know, I think just the dedication alone puts you on the right track, you know. And I think just that knowing the commitment towards the good life, the healthy lifestyle versus, you know, the lifestyle where the youngsters now are driven to lose focus because of getting involved in parties and drugs. It's not a bad thing to party in there, but it's just learning the control aspect, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you about those things, and I think you caught on very quick, you know, because I watched how like intentive you would listen, and it was quite amazing how you would transform, you know, and coming from that, you know, that background of three brothers. You know, I know same thing as my two brothers, the three of us. Wow, we were like uncontrollable. We were like hooligans as far as, you know, we'd play hard. Everything was competitive. I'm sure with you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And the youngest brother, my youngest brother, Sean, because he tried to keep up with the two older brothers, it was like that massive, in a good way. It was positive. And growing up with brothers is quite amazing because it does, you know, level you out. It does show you a lot of connections as far as, and I think the competitive side, although you want to compete in a good way, I think it's like iron sharpens iron. You know, you work with each other in life, you know. And I just looked at your life was very similar to what, you know, having two brothers, I could understand it much easier, you know.
Yeah.
And tell me about, I still remember you approaching me about wanting to fight, and I was like, oh, it's not a good idea. It was something that I wanted you to do as far as like a white collar fight. And remember I said to you, okay, let's have maybe one or two white collar fights. What was your feeling about that first?
I just wanted to give boxing a good bash. I just wanted to fight. Like you said, I had two brothers. I was always trying to compete and keep up with them. I was always trying to fight them. But to be honest, I don't think I ever beat my brothers with that whole age gap. Bradley and I, there's a 6-year age gap.
Because they were quite like competitive fighters, in a way. They were you know, they enjoyed a little rumble now and then.
Yeah, they especially Warwick, the middle brother, he was quite hot-headed. He liked to cause a lot of trouble and get into fights and stuff. But both of them could hold their own. Bradley joined Sean, Warwick joined you. And Warwick also went to Willie Tawil from a young age. So both my brothers could box and weren't like your worst fighters. So I was always trying to keep up and always trying to be better than them and stuff like that. So none of them had actually competed. So I knew if I competed, I would have maybe overtaken them. Yeah. So that drove me quite a bit. And then also I kind of got their respect through fighting, because as the youngest, you couldn't always join your brothers because you were too immature. If they were with their friends, they didn't want to see what you were doing. And my brothers were often causing trouble and doing nonsense and stuff. So they didn't want to see me, and they didn't actually allow me to be around them. But when it came to like boxing and stuff, they would come and approach me and ask me like what you were teaching me and talk to me more and more. How's the boxing going? And they wanted to see like what I was about. And then when I was young, Brad's friends used to box me on their knees, and I used to try and beat up his friends. They would often tell me I got a bit carried away as the youngster. They just had that natural strength. So I was trying to catch up, basically. Yeah. That's where I think the competing side came, and you telling me no, I can't compete. I think it fueled me even more.
Well, the reason being, you know, coming from, you know, I always analyze my fighters and the people I choose. You know, I look at certain criterias that I choose before I take on a fighter. You know, I don't just have a gym full of fighters because of the sake of fighting, because, you know, this is one of the things that I look at as a character of a person. And, you know, a lot of background in boxing is this, you got to have this massive amateur career. And I know with my teachings and my what is skill set more than anything else. And I don't know if you can remember what was the turnaround, how we started like getting serious. Do you remember? Do you remember what it was?
I actually don't, to be honest. Yeah.
Let me remind you, okay? I still remember you bashed your car in your estate,
Yeah.
and you got a serious from your parents that time.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, definitely.
Now there was a big lesson taught, and I remember your mom and dad were like, "That's it, no more done," and you you were like nervous about everything, and I think you turned the corner there.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I still remember.
Yeah.
And
because I was actually extremely lucky with that car crash. I was drunk and hit a tree.
Yeah.
There's when you're drunk and hit a tree, there's nothing to say, but it was me, you know.
You admitted your wrongdoings, and I think your responsibility changed.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw a different Rowan come out.
Yeah.
And then I still remember you wanted to fight, and you kept bugging me about a fight. And I knew amateurs is not the strongest point in South Africa right now. There's obviously a huge, I don't know, it's like lagged as far as the competitiveness. I think the value of fighting for a Springbok blazer is not cutthroat as it would be being a Springbok rugby player. It used to be that close as far as sport. If you had any Springbok or national colors, whatever it is, Protea, whatever it is, it meant so much more. Even although we weren't in the Olympic times, I still remember. It was like a national, you were like gold as far as, you know, and getting you into amateur boxing was my, wow, where do we start? Because, you know, the caliber was too extreme, or basically at the bottom there was no fights. So I still remember turning around to you and said, listen, there's no chance, you're going to have to join amateur gym. As me as a professional trainer, I remember saying to you, look, I can't get involved in amateur boxing, so let's find an amateur gym where you train with me and an amateur gym cahoots together and get your career going. Unfortunately, you missed so many opportunities of not getting fights. I still remember that. And then one amateur fight sprung on you, and you took it. I think the guy was more of a high-level fighter than you at that time, and you were just a beginner.
I think he had like 5 fights, and it was my first one.
And what made me nervous about that was the standard I thought was out there, which was very good to a point, but as a guy having no fights, getting introduced to a guy who's had 5 fights, I think 5 wins here at that time.
Yeah.
You took on that fight, and I said, go for it. Because me testing, see, do you have the ability, the heart, and also get in the feel of the fight game. Because I still remember in my career when I had my first junior amateur fight, and there were a hell of a lot of fighters out there. And the first fight I had was a national champion. And we never knew. But my trainer at the time really believed in me, and he thought, so I fought a Springbok junior champion, my first amateur fight. And I couldn't believe the brutality this guy had in him to try and get rid of me in this fight. And I still remember crying in that fight. And I couldn't believe how this guy was here bashing me. What is your experience on your first amateur? Well, I wouldn't call it, it was like almost a white collar amateur, but it was it was like getting in the deep end. It was getting your feet wet.
Yeah. I still remember, because like all my friends, I'd always told them I want to become a boxer, blah, blah, blah. So when they found out I was having the amateur fights, this is the one thing which stuck with me forever, because the amateur coach, his name was Shane, I forget his surname, but he said to me, he's never ever taken someone to amateurs where a whole busload of people came to watch them. So I had so many people watching me that I didn't even want my own father there. There was that many people.
That's pressure.
Yeah, so that was the one thing I remember. I put way too much pressure on myself for the first amateur fight. I wish I just went there and never told anyone, like my brothers could be there. So I don't remember much. except not being fit enough. Because like you say, I was actually drinking a lot and I was smoking whenever I was drinking. And how it actually started, I will never forget. I got you on Facebook. I added you on Facebook. And then like I became extremely aware because you started coming down on me because you saw one or two of my Facebook pictures and I was drinking, or there might have been a cigarette or something, and you came down on me like a ton of bricks. So then I became like very smart. So I would always hide and try and make sure I looked very good in photos and stuff. But actually, like there was a cigarette behind the person, or there was a beer behind the person.
Crazy.
And that's how, like, I think it was a fear for you with the Facebook how it started. And another thing to elaborate on that car crash, I was completely drunk and I actually got extremely lucky because I hit the tree on my side and the car actually came in on my legs. So I remember like the next like 2 weeks, I had indentations on my legs.
Jeez.
So actually, I think that was like the big frights, which like you said, turned my life around, because I actually had to climb out of my car window to get out. Luckily, I was 10 meters, not 10 meters, like 100 meters away from my parents' house. It was in a boomed area.
Wow.
And I had to climb out the window. I drove the car like 5 kilometers an hour, a whole 100 meters to my parents' house. I was drunk and trying to handbrake turn and being absolutely stupid. And then, that was a big wake-up call for me. And then, with you, and I just decided to put all my focus because, like I said, with those Facebook things, and not just the Facebook, I would hide all my stuff from you, but also if I was drinking and smoking and stuff, it would hinder my boxing performance. And then slowly but surely, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore because it's making me worse at boxing. The more I do that, the worse I get here. Then, like, if I had a big week with you, or if you mentally prepared me and said, hey, we're going to be doing this, this, and this week, or I'm sparring with a few of the guys like Ian and them, I remember them back then. I told my friends I would have like 1 drink and I wouldn't do anything that weekend. And that's how my discipline for boxing came. I decided to start saying no to all that stuff because I wanted to be fit for boxing and not get beaten up, or I wanted to do well and impress you, you know? And my first amateur fight, going back to that, I don't remember so much just because, I'm not lying, I think I had like 40 people at my first amateur fight. It was somewhere in like, I forget, it starts, no, it's not. It's there by UJ.
I remember
and
that.
stuff.
I remember
It was Afrikaans area. A little hall that had like so many people shouting. And I still remember my brothers and my father, because afterwards, the guy just before me apparently got like knocked out. It's like one of the worst knockouts they've ever seen to this day. He ended up having like a fit or something crazy, and his mom ended up throwing her high heel shoe at the opponents and absolutely losing it. So this was the fight that happened just before I came in. So I remember also walking in and seeing their faces with their eyes like this. So
and your nerves excel. It's like crazy. What I want to say to you was, what I thought about was quite interesting because I remember we trained for that, but it wasn't really a prep. And you know, the funny thing is, you haven't had an amateur career. You had 3 fights with the same guy. Okay. And the first fight, I think you kind of beat him, but it was very close.
I wasn't fit enough.
I remember that.
I was
because you took care, and I thought
he beat me,
I thought they'd give you like a startup opponent, like same level, one. So I wasn't connected with the amateur board or anything, but it was quite a shocker to hear you had about 5-8 fights or whatever. You fought the guy, and it was a good fight. I still remember you showed me the video clip because I didn't even go. I couldn't go that time.
We got the fight of the tournament.
On the first fight?
On my first fight, I still remember the trophy.
And that impressed me because I thought to myself, you stepped into big shoes at that time. You know, being a young, how old are you about?
I was 19.
19.
19, yeah.
So we trained from 15 to 19, 4 years, twice a week. So it's like very like...
Once a week in the beginning. And
once a week.
Because I was naughty.
So that's not really a career of learning boxing. That's like really a part-time, fun, whatever. Then it was the 1 year I said to you, look here, my boy, if you're going to take this game serious, I want you here from Monday to Friday. And we're going to see what we can do. And my journey with you was, I still remember saying to you, we're going to just do amateurs. I don't think of any, and this is the beauty of what you've achieved. And I take my hat off to you for what you've done. Shown amazing heart, amazing character, an amazing ability to where you are today. And I really want to congratulate you and say to you, well done, because I'm going to just give you, moving fast forward. Rowan had those 3 amateur fights, and it was no more. I don't think another person pitched up to a tournament. We couldn't get another fight for you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I went to, and then there was like there were lots of little guys and lots of like super heavyweights.
Yeah.
So there was no one really in my weight. I was
Yeah.
in that awkward weight, unless it was that same opponent again. We were looking at one another and being like, "Hey, should we fight again
Yeah.
and again?" But we were like, we also wanted to fight someone different.
And the funny thing about what happened at that time was, I don't know what was in me, but it said, Rowan, we're gonna try pros. Forget the amateurs. It's not happening. Let you and I try the pro. Remember I said to you? And we trained hard. We trained for a year, almost a year.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday,
Yeah.
hard. And I slowly started pulling him in now and then with the pros to get a taste with the pros, what it's about. And I still remember you were sparring 1 or 2 people as a to get
Ryno was one of them.
But that was before you turned pro.
Yeah, that was in that time you're talking about, I think, because I
And what
joined
you-
you April and that first fight was December.
And I still remember when we were going for the licensing, and we had the SA boxing board watching you spar, and they were like, Peter, I thought you knew boxing. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And my friend Archie, he was the one. I love him for it. And because, you know what, I think sometimes people needle you to do better. And it's great. It's not negative. It's a form of, I was nervous about where we're going to go, but I didn't think I really doubted much as far as, my comment to you was, let's see how far we go. And when I look back today, unbeaten, how many fights now?
This is going to be 12 fights.
13 fights. You're fighting and being pressured by a former champion. You've been pulled into this fight by a former champion. And it's great because these are the bridges of life you have to cross. And that's why I'm so happy to do this interview. Being a trainer, it's not biased or anything. It's my friend, my pupil, and my champion. And I'm proud of you. And I'm looking back going, this is an amazing journey we've had, because if I've looked back at the caliber of fighters you've had, and I can still remember the fights like yesterday that I was shouting from the corner and I was clinching at the towel, watching some of the fight, and I knew, wow, these guys are a little bit more advanced, but we're going to take it anyway, because there was nothing more offered to us.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been like that for you. It's not really a development scenario for you. So I really am amazed by how well you've done. I don't think many people see that side of boxing. That you get a lot of negative people shouting out loud about who you should be fighting, but that just shows you how great. So it's a compliment from fans and no fans, like the non-fans, to really showcase you against Ryno. And I really think the future is yours. I am positive. This fight's going to be. You've trained exceptionally hard. Everything's falling together for this fight. And wow, how do you feel about where you've come from in your pro career? Yeah. Let's start from 1 to 12, and where you're going into this fight.
Oh, thanks for your compliments as well. But from the first fight to now, I remember how nervous I was for that first fight. I still remember 1 or 2 guys joking with me afterwards. They were like placing bets on the back there. They thought I was going to vomit. They thought I was that nervous.
Yeah.
But to now, there's a lot of confidence, I think, which has developed since then. I feel like every single time you go into the ring and come out, you become a stronger person. I feel like you not only overcome so many obstacles and stuff, but most importantly, you beat yourself. Like my mind has told myself so many things in those last 12 fights, and I've ended up coming out of it beating myself, like never ever experiencing like my biggest fears or anything like that. So I think the development and the growth from that perspective has been amazing. And from a fighting perspective, I think from 1 to 12 to now, every single one has been completely different fighting styles and stuff like that. And yeah, I think 1 or 2 of them were really skilled. I remember once or twice going back to
Who were those? Who was the fight for you that was like, wow, okay, I'm in a fight here?
Yeah, I think it was a double. It was 2. That Georgian I fought, Shushvili was his surname.
Great European style, Olympian.
I remember how crafty he was and nifty in there. And then also Renson Hobani.
Renson was great.
Yeah, that was the SA title. That was the start of becoming the
That's
SA.
where, for me, you need credibility. Because how many people would have thought you would have beaten Renson?
A lot of people doubted me
and
there.
That fight was a great fight because, and it's not about the doubt, it's about the reality.
Yeah.
You know, the reality of Renson being as good as he was, and is. I don't know where he is in his life and career. But Renson, to me, was one dangerous fighter.
Yeah.
And you showed, that fight to me showed every championship quality possible. Never mind the ones after that. Because I think you established yourself in a sense of what boxing's really about. You know, and the Georgian was great. It was a great fight. Very clinical.
Yeah.
Very good boxing fight there.
Yeah.
And
tell you had a good amateur background.
very good.
But I agree with you. Renson, when I was in there, I was like, wow, okay. From round 1, I was like, this is a fight. This is going to require everything and everything. I still remember even in round 9, thinking the same as round 1. Like, we going at this. Like, there's going to be one winner. We both going for it. And Renson was extremely skilled. I felt it in there. It was like a chess match more than a boxing match against Renson. And then even after that, Patrick Makala, Alex Kabangu.
Patrick was great.
Now, Ryno Liebenberg. I feel like I've experienced and fought some great fighters. Going to fight.
Right.
Great fighter. Yeah.
You know, moving forward, okay, this big fight now coming up. And it is a big fight because we all love Ryno. I think he's been great for boxing. He's a great human being. He's got great character and he's a warrior. And we are now in this time right now in your career. And when we're analyzing and looking back at your career, you fought Patrick, he fought Patrick. You moved up one fight to fight light heavyweight, and you did exceptionally well. Was it actually for the SA title?
I can't help but feel this is the biggest fight. You know, the amount of social media, the amount of exposure, interviews, everything. I don't know what to call it, but the amount of attention on this fight is big. And like you said, Ryno is a good war veteran. He's a great stepping stone where a lot of people want to see me beat him to say, okay, cool. This kid can go on further.
He doesn't want to be the stepping stone.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be that.
But it's fair. I mean, you got to win. It's you know, it's a great. You know, he's a great competitor. He's done great for South African boxing. He's competed internationally where I felt he got robbed. I don't know, a few times. Fights that I called was unfair in his career, and that's why you don't shadow him by his record because he's outdone his record. He's actually more victorious than his record stands for.
Yeah.
And the good thing about this fight is, for you in your favor, this will establish where you are in boxing and where you're going to be going. And watching how you performed for this training has been remarkable. I know we had a cancellation in December. That was frustrating for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you went into depression when I mentioned the fight's cancelled for December. Yeah. And I said, just hold on your...
And that Germany fight. I went into proper depression after that. That was 2 weeks before COVID hit us.
Yeah.
That one hit me hard.
But now your career's really taking flight. And also thanks to Ryno. You know, Ryno stepped out of himself to say, I want... And this is what blows my mind because... Back then, I think when you were like, how old?
I went
when we sparred with Ryno the first time. And I'll tell you how this happened. Kevin Arena was sparring with Ryno, working with Ryno. You weren't even a pro then.
Yeah.
I think you're about to get your pro license.
I remember the story. It was actually at a Kevin Arena press conference, and he came up to me and said, "Who you? What you about?" And then he found out I was light heavyweight when I started with you, and we were in the same weight. And he said to me, "We're gonna fight one day."
No.
Yeah.
You're right, but the big thing was we were in sparring, and the day Kevin got injured or something, or something happened, and I said to Ryno and his trainer, I said to him, "Listen, Kevin can't make it today, but I've got a guy. Look, if he can't do Ryno good, we'll just pull him out. But this is what I got to do." I cannot remember who worked with you that day. It was a while back.
I vaguely remember this. It's ringing bells.
And it was like, it stuck with me from the day he said it to you. And you sparred with him. It was you and Alfonso Thyssen were working together to help him. And your sparring session brought attention to him, because I remember you were going so well that he was actually shocked that you had no pro fight at the time, and you were giving him one of the hardest sparring sessions. Well, great sparring. I'm sure he's had 101 sparring sessions, but great sparring. And after a sparring session, he turned to you and he said, "Before I retire, I'm going to give you your send-off." Remember that?
That rings a bell. That really rings a bell.
And I was taking off your gloves when he said that.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "Be careful what you wish for."
Yeah, this is ringing a big bell.
Do you remember that?
But yeah.
And
I do.
we're sitting today. I don't know how many years from then it was.
Yeah.
And we are. And
That must have been about 7 years ago.
I give it to Ryno. He stuck to his guns.
Yeah.
And I would have thought, after, how many times he got robbed in Germany, he was fed up with the game. But the beauty of it is, he's so in love with boxing, and he's so in love with the sport, and it's nothing. Boxers don't take things personal. I mean, if you take things personal in the sport, you're not meant to be in the sport.
Wrong sport.
So, you're there as a competitor, win or lose, and, this famous Rocky story, you get up and you carry on, you know? And I just wanted to reflect on that, because there's one thing that stuck in my head. And thank you to Ryno, because this is where we are today. And he's had a great career, great record. And you are going to be facing it off. I think you're going to be giving him his send-off.
Yeah, I must. I must. But even I took it as a great compliment, because before this fight was scheduled, even last year this time, he said, "I'm not fighting anyone else from this country other than Rowan Campbell." And I actually took that as a compliment, because like you say, he's had some great international fights.
Oh, he's a warrior.
Yeah, we've all rooted for him at times. I've rooted for Ryno a few times. And
love the guy. Yeah.
So I took that as actually a massive compliment when he said, "I'm only fighting Rowan Campbell. That's my last fight here."
Well, put it this way. I think Ryno has never turned his back up on anyone. He's fought them all. He fought Tommy. He fought Johnny. He fought, who else locally, big names? He's fought Patrick Mokala. Great fighter, great name. Super talented. He's never, ever backed off.
Alvarez was a big one as well.
Alvarez was huge.
Yeah, that was a massive one.
A superstar. Going into this fight next week, what are you prepared to tell Ryno right now?
My message to Ryno will be, Ryno, you asked for this fight 7 or 8 years ago. Coach told you, be careful what you wish for. So thank you for this opportunity. But I am going to be giving you that send-off that you deserve or require. And I am the future. And shot again. And I look forward to a great fight and giving everyone an amazing fight. Thanks for having me on Fight Night. Chat.
There we go. Thank you, Roy.
Yeah, shot.
Champ, let's do this thing.